pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming tonight. I'm missing our cohort, Michaeline. We'll make it this weekend. So, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Who got that second?
Good to Gene. Oh.
Jeff.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment? Okay. Consent items. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I abstain.
Okay, so, discussion items. Set a date for time for truth and taxation meeting.
Okay, this we'll be voting on next time, but typically what we have done is it would be Thursday, December 6th. We typically do it at a regularly scheduled board meeting. We can't start until 6 o'clock, and I think last year we moved it to 6:30. We talked about 6:30, we talked about 7, but most of the time if we move it to 7, that agenda, the beginning of December agenda usually is a little light, and so we don't have enough to fill an hour until 7. So
I think 6:30 worked, seemed to work good last for everybody. Everybody kind of in agreement on that? 6:30 for that?
well, and so we'll vote on it next time, but that's one of those where you just, it gives you 2 weeks to talk to constituents to see if 6:30 worked for them.
Okay. Hiawatha Valley Ed Service Agreement.
I wish I had something to show you for this one. I have emailed Deb Marcotte, and she's the director at Hiawatha Valley Ed, and she said they're working on getting them, but I really would like that approved before school begins, which means that we will be getting that service agreement hopefully within the next week. As soon as we get it, I will email it to you so you can see it before it goes into the board packet, but I really would like it approved at the August 16th board meeting, so we've got that service agreement approved before the year begins. I can tell you already that there will be some changes in it. We had them add an HVAC coordinator that is really going to be just in place in MNVA. And looking at some of the other schools and the numbers in the other schools and knowing how much coordinator time they were getting, I realized that MNVA in Houston were, as far as numbers, we should have been getting a coordinator all along. And they, because we had that online component and our teachers weren't here, they didn't really feel we needed to be staffed with the coordinator. And I said, no, even though we're virtual, that doesn't mean we need less service. So they said that would be changing the program budget, but we really need to have the same level of service the other schools are getting. So we will have that coordinator that's dedicated to MNVA, and she will be on site and working virtually with our teachers to make sure that scheduling is done in such a way that we're sure that every student on an IEP is getting the level of service necessitated by that IEP.
And online already knows that that's coming.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, we started having conversations about this probably in January, and started talking about what those changes were going to necessarily be. And so all the special education teachers know that the level of service that they're providing for the students in some cases is going to also be increased by what is necessitated in the IEP.
Good.
And that's in the budget for that, for MNBA to pay for that.
Yep, absolutely.
Any other questions on that? Okay. Old business, items for discussion, approval, site crisis plans, we approving that tonight?
And the site plans, those that look through, thank you, Jean, looking through and finding some things, those changes have been made to what is uploaded here. As a reminder, changes, my Tri-County Electric has been changed to My Energy. And I think that was the,
That was really the main one. And
yeah,
Was that the one that also had the Christmas and Easter?
that's the handbook.
That's the handbook.
So do we have a motion to approve these?
I think MNBA had Moodle down. Are we still using Moodle for MNBA?
Oh, yeah, that got changed as
Okay.
well.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the site plans, crisis plan?
So moved. Second.
Okay,
Second by Gene. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So do we have a motion to approve the MNVA staff and student handbooks?
Motion.
Second.
Second by Josh.
okay.
Discussion. All in favor?
That's the one that had the
Moodle.
Moodle, and that got changed, yeah.
Anything else on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, do you have a motion to approve the Houston High School / Summit Learning Center staff and student handbooks?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
This is the one where Christmas and Easter got changed to winter and spring break.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if the full board voted on that piece to have those changed. I mean, it is, that's what it is. It's Christmas break and it's Easter break. And there's no law that says that we have to call it anything but that. I mean, and it tells people where it's at. If we had a separate spring break, we'd probably put spring break down, but it's been in there, so I would think that would take a full board action to really understand to change it. If one person, board member saying that, I don't know if we all.
I think it was discussed at the last meeting and it kind of was, that's the way we wanted to go, so. Okay, I don't know that we went and voted on that one.
We didn't. I can appreciate the thought though.
Yeah. We can bring it up again if we.
It just helps that if they said at Minnesota School Board, you don't want to call
Right.
that because of that, so.
But, that's Todd's saying it's not mandatory.
No,
I can appreciate that.
but it'd avoid any conflict if there was somebody that wanted to.
Okay.
But it's more a designation of time.
Yeah.
Because winter and spring is kind of vague.
It's up to the board to, because Mr. Lundberg will put in whatever the board wants to call it. It has been in there as Christmas and Easter. But if the board decides they would rather have winter and spring to follow MSBA,
Well, we can do a
The change
quick
will be made.
roll call vote. Me, what are your thoughts?
I'll start. Christmas
you.
and Easter.
Christmas and Easter.
Ron?
Christmas and Easter.
Winter and spring.
You already lost option.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't even say anything since I messed up.
So
I mean,
we go-
I can appreciate calling, I appreciate both. But
So it'll be Christmas and Easter.
okay, so
We'll just
that,
make the change to that.
okay, so with the, Jean, would you accept a friendly amendment to have it be Christmas and Easter?
Sure.
Okay, and Ron? Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So, do we have a motion to approve the coaching and paraprofessional handbook?
So move.
Have a second?
Second.
Second. Gary? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do a motion to approve the Houston Elementary Staff and Student Handbook.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion?
Who seconded that? Okay, thank you.
There's some little formatting in there yet, I think.
Yep.
It needs to be done before you print it.
Do
Go ahead, Mr.
do we want them uniform with Christmas and Easter? Or
Yeah.
I think we dragged the district one on, so I can change it.
Change it back.
Okay.
Uniformity. Any other further discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So, do we have a motion to approve the user fees and season pass prices?
With this one, I was asked, and I talked to Lisa about, and she gave this to Ann, thank you so much. You'll see that, with sports, we're, as far as user fees, kind of in the ballpark. Our family max, we're a little higher. With senior citizen, we're right about in there.
I think we talked about making the senior citizen the same, I thought.
Yeah.
Well, that's,
student.
we talked about making the senior citizen the same as a student, and I know, and Mimi brought up the fact that she doesn't know why students have to pay anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it is up for discussion, and, you'll notice that, Glenville Emmons doesn't have anything for a student pass, but
Does that mean the
It's
students get it
35.
free?
it's 30,
Oh, 30. or
See
the-
how it went up from the,
oh,
they filled it in themselves, so his,
okay.
it's 35 semicolon 00, he filled it himself, so. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
So basically, all students are paying something except for what, Randolph? Or is that a family thing?
Oh, no, $60 for students or seniors.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, just looking at this, my thought is, I think our rates are pretty reasonable. I almost think it's not worth the effort to change anything. If we're only gonna change something by a few bucks, and it looks like senior citizens are honestly getting a good deal. It's right in the ballpark. Students are getting a good deal as well.
I mean, that was part of the discussions. Everybody fine with the way it sits right now? I mean, looking at this complete list now, I think we're fine. Gene? Ron, you're a senior?
What's the senior?
Yeah, you're.
If they say they are
62 and
senior.
above. 62 and above is
Well-
considered
Well, there's those that say, what, some think 65 and above, ARP says 50, so,
Wow, that seems a little bit low.
senior.
Thank you.
Ours
Ours is
is
60,
going.
Yeah.
62, right? Gene, that was there, so.
And I think for
So
senior,
Mimi, you're good at
for
that?
senior citizen passes, I think we only get 12 of them, 12 seniors take them.
About 1,000, yeah.
So it'd be fine with just keeping it the way
If
it
there
is?
was any change with a student being in, if a student's in a sport, they should maybe get a pass.
students in the sport don't have to pay
Yeah,
when they come in.
But if there's somebody, the students that come through and they say, well, I'm in junior high football, so I get in free, or I'm in junior high basketball, so don't I get in free to the basketball game?
But, and Gene deals with this because you watched the game.
Yeah,
Yeah. What are the rules on that, Mr. Lumber?
That's a board decision.
No, I mean, how have they done it in the past? I
happening
mean,
now?
I know.
Well, I think they should. If they're in
they're playing.
basketball, they should get to go watch the basketball team and cheer them on. Wouldn't you guys encourage the junior high to go cheer on the high school?
It's a little bit stickier with football, you just have a natural, it's not their game day, usually junior high comes straight from their game over here. You know, football is, I'm in, you know, Gene, I'm in junior high, I play youth. I mean, they go everywhere. They just want to get in, and so there's just a lot of finagling.
How many
So
student
whatever the
passes
board
do we
thinks.
sell? How many are we?
About 80,
Yeah, there are quite a few.
80 to 90 some.
That's great.
But you'd still sell some, because there's still some that aren't in
Sure, no,
a sport
just curious.
on that other.
And pep band gets in free.
And the pep band, when they're playing, they get free.
The other thing is, and I know in the high school, we get a sheet that says, it's like this cool little worksheet. How many passes do you want? How much do you wanna put in your school lunch? I don't think we get that at the elementary. I mean, I have kids in both, so then I'll just buy my elementary and no, but I think if we told the elementary that they could buy these fan passes for kids, they might. Do they know about the fan passes in the elementary?
Mr. Bartz?
We will tell them. I think that's a great idea.
I mean, because if they knew that they could spend $15 and their kids could get into all the games, they might be.
I think they should be $250. It ends up being a babysitting, and we need more supervision for the kids, because that's what happens.
Well,
I'm being honest there.
I'm thinking,
really
well, I'm
am.
not thinking drop off my first grader, but my sixth
But that's what
grader,
happens.
fifth and sixth graders, I
See
mean,
it.
he's into the game, right? So, but I don't drop them off either, I stay with them, so.
Sorry. Preschool, how about preschool?
Preschool.
It is a good
Free.
idea just to drop them off,
Preschool.
though, and say,
Kindergarten.
Tom,
You're
what works?
babysitting my kid. It's
Awesome.
$15 for the year, it's a good deal.
No,
Thanks.
Okay, so I think we should add it, Mr. Bartz is gonna add that to his school, grade school. Did you have something else?
I was just gonna say, I think our fees are appropriate.
Okay,
So he's
So
making
we-
a motion?
I'll make that motion.
okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mimi.
oh, thanks, I barely kinda snuck that
I
in.
know.
Okay.
So, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Houston High School English curriculum update.
I know there have been questions with this as far as with the existing, seniors, because they're the ones that, the juniors have had English 9 and English 10, so they haven't had the extra English classes, so it really doesn't impact them. So the only class really impacted by this change are the seniors. If they've had, if they took an extra English class their junior year, so let's say a junior took 3 English classes, their senior year, in looking at the way the class is configured and knowing what classes they could have taken their junior year, they would be fine taking either semester. They would probably want to take semester 1, because I think in semester 1, Mrs. Eidecker was going to get in the unit on resume writing, scholarship writing, because usually your scholarship, your college application essay for a lot of kids is due by December 1. So that would be a first semester class, that would be a first semester activity. So if the kids need their English and really want to have that class help in writing their application essays, they would take first semester. But they could really take either semester, because Becky's going to make sure that the units break. There's not going to be a unit that straddles the semester. So that was the one question raised, so hopefully that answers that.
I think the just main concern was that kids that already have their plans for next year.
And
It's not gonna be where
these were-
we find out in January that, oh, you should have taken a class last year and see you next year,
no,
type of thing.
the
because-
scheduling was done knowing that these changes were coming in.
And knowing that the kids that need required to take a specific course have it on their list.
Mhm,
So we don't have to go back and look at the beginning of the year and say, oh, did you have that?
mhm.
Cause I have a senior, I believe you have one.
Yeah, there was
Never set
some discussion last time about AP Lit, and, I know it's not offered because not enough kids signed up for it, which is a valid reason, but the kids actually signed up for classes that, I think they signed up for classes that we're not offering, right? So they didn't sign up for English 12. They weren't given the option of English 12 or AP Lit. They were given the option of theater arts and short story novel and this and that. So, I wonder, is that true or am I making that up?
They were given an option of AP Lit
I guess I'm
for the
wondering,
registration.
I guess I'm wondering if, given the two options of you take English 12 or AP Lit, if those were the two options, if more kids would have signed up for.
I understand what you're saying, and I think that's, you know, in the future as we move on, I mean, there wasn't the kids that want the AP Lit, and these classes were just merged into, you know, like most schools do have the English, you know, all the way to 9, 10, 11, 12. They, you know, we merged those in. We just didn't have enough. And looking at the kids, I, you know, don't know if we'd have enough. We haven't had enough for a while now for the AP Lit. But in time, that may happen, and that's something that we've talked about already. We may only have one section of English 12, and the other section is in AP Lit. That may happen if we have enough kids that want to do that. I would think that would be a good thing. And that was already discussed, you know, with the English teachers, how we, you know, go through an AP Lit class, and that's exactly the way we do it.
So you don't think if you were to go to the kids and say you have the option of taking this or this, that very many would want to take AP Lit?
I don't think so. Yeah.
And AP Lit is a full year class too, so for those kids that just want one credit, the way AP is designed, the writing is interwoven throughout the whole thing. You know, granted, your college application essay, once again, is in November of that curriculum.
So my other concern, and I guess we just approved the handbook, but it says in there for the graduation requirements that the kids need to take, you know, 8 credits of English and so many of literature and then 1 of composition. And you know, it doesn't, I don't know if you leave that in there and then you say this no longer applies for this year going. I saw there was a disclaimer for 9th graders, but you know, for my daughter who only has 1 class left and it's got to be composition, she can't, I mean, she's just going to have to take one of the semesters of English 12 and it will count, is what I'm hearing.
I did look at your daughter's transcript, and she's got her composition, she's got the extra lit.
Oh, okay.
So
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what English she takes because she took theater arts and that's count.
Oh, okay. So, but I just want, the way it was confusing before, just making sure you had so many, and I know Crystal had the sheet, and I just want to make sure that it's straightforward for the families that maybe had kids who took classes in advance and they only have to take 1 class, and which one do they need to take, and it doesn't fit in this bucket or that bucket.
That's really going to be on us to really do a good job there. You're right, but you know, that's why, because you can't change graduation requirements and all that stuff, you know, unless it's been on there, you know, from 9th grade all the way through. That's why the disclaimers, we kind of have this 9th grade through, because we have a couple 10th graders that took an extra English class online this past year. So they took English 10, plus they took another class, because some kids want to get all their English classes done right away so they don't have to take English their, you know, 11th and 12th grade year. We don't think that's a good idea, and most schools don't. That's why they have English 9, 10, 11, 12. They really like the idea. It's good for the kids to have, you know, English all the way through. So that was another, you know, sound educational reason we wanted this change. And that's been this has been talked about for a long time, going this route.
Again, I think just the concern was, it seemed to me at the last meeting, to ensure that, especially the kids that are coming to the end, we don't, you know, next after the beginning of the year in January, all of a sudden, March, April, May, they're being told that, hey, you're missing this. You should have taken it the beginning of the year. You're not going to graduate.
I know that's
type of thing. That's all I'm asking. I mean, I think that was part of the discussion we had last time. And that was a concern, so I just don't want to get the phone call from a parent saying, hey, you know, why wasn't my child told that he or she had to take this? So, as long as you guys got it under control, huh?
I said I don't want that call.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure you've had it, you know, I know. I've had kids ask, but.
No, it should be good.
So if we push this through, then is Crystal going to, like, in the beginning of the year, do you re-meet with kids individual? I mean, are we going to kind of, to what Tom is saying, just to kind of talk about this right away and make sure everybody understands what's happening and that you're in this class and, you know, and just kind of, because I know each kid is different with how much they've taken and what they have left to do and.
We've always done that because there's kids, you know, you don't have enough math. And, you know, we tell them, you know, you're responsible, but then we say, you have to take a math class this year because you don't have enough. So that we always do that with the seniors. So this is nothing new, but it is heightened a little bit just because of the change. Fully agree, and we're all aware of that piece. And so we're gonna have to really make sure that,
And Crystal's very aware, and Crystal's got that, once again, there was full communication.
Because it will say that, I mean, there's a full year of English 12, but some kids don't have to take the full year of English 12.
correct, and we know.
But they might want to.
They might want to.
They'll have so much fun.
But I'm guessing if they took it in advance so that they didn't have to, they
There's a
probably
reason
won't want
they
to.
did that.
Just gonna guess.
There's always those kids that wanna take extra English, so you,
Yeah, keep dreaming that.
I took extra English.
Okay, continuing on. So is there anything else you want to discuss on this? We're not approving this right now.
Yes,
we?
you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was update here, so that's why I was questioning it.
I make
This
the
is
motion to
update.
approve.
So do we have a motion to approve the change in the English curriculum? Do I have a second? Second by Ron. Any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Policies for second reading. Do I have a motion to approve policy 401, 419, 604, 613, 614, 615, 616, and 630?
I have a question on 6:30.
We do have a motion.
Second.
Have a second? Okay, discussion?
Yeah, I have a question on 6:30. In there it says Superintendent Corinne Abraham, and I was wondering if that should say the superintendent instead.
This is the policy that was required by the Office of Civil Rights, and when we asked that question of Carolyn Elstra, she said that superintendent had to be named in the policy.
Okay, that's
So
cool.
it's a good
seemed
question to
yeah.
ask.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
we typically like to go with, and
Yes.
that's why I told her, we
A title.
typically like to go with position and not an individual person. And you'll notice with everything, as far as we had to name who was Title IX, we have to name all the people by name.
Okay, any further discussion?
You'll see going through, there are very few changes, and I know that a lot of these are off-cycle because MSBA said that there were significant changes that needed to be approved this year, and most of those are the legal references because law numbers changed or law wording changed. And so it's just the legal references and the cross-referencing that changed.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. New businesses, items for discussion and approval. We don't really have any announcements. For any events?
Yes, back to school. That Monday, the 27th, is the board planning on doing a dinner for the teachers? Are you not planning on doing a dinner for the teachers? As we're doing the letters for the back to school, that one we need to know about. It's the Monday.
Ron, we have some. We have every other year.
When is Apollo coming?
On the 23rd,
And they're staying through,
the 2nd of September.
so that's right during the middle of Apollo, you can't do anything.
Yeah, I don't wanna add another thing. I'm getting too old for this.
And,
It keeps
And-
you young.
and if it doesn't really work, then, and we'll, work out something else. I've already, just in case there needed to be a secondary thing. I've talked to both the union and the principals, and we can, but I just needed to know where the board stood first.
Well, Brian can't have his place, we kinda.
Oh, yeah, I made these last year.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah, I
right,
did.
that worked out nice.
Yeah, I just would need, I have to fly a child to college, so,
Yeah, that's-
I get back the day
Drop
before
and roll.
Yeah.
and pick
Is
up
that
the
on
other
the
child
airplane?
from the state fair. So I would just need, I mean, you could definitely use the space, but I can't, devote a ton of time.
Okay. I know what that's like, you're not gonna wanna do any of the extra.
So we just
No.
let it ride this year, or
Okay,
we got some other plans? Sounds like we got.
I have a meeting that night at 5.
So, why don't we just,
okay, I will make other plans, but I just needed to know, thank you. But for the back to school on the 27th, that morning, we are going to have Ann Clark. She is a trained facilitator by Dr. Amit Sood on stress management and resiliency training. So she's going to be coming in and providing that training to the 27th. And so that's, you are welcome, and maybe you'd like the stress management
I'm
after.
looking ahead at my schedule and I need to stop.
Yeah, you might like the stress management training, but that's, as board members, you are more than welcome to attend.
none of us are stressed.
Good, that's lovely to hear.
What time is that at?
We start at 8:30 with the back to school,
Okay.
and then she will go at 9:30 or 9. Gotta look at it again. Okay. And MSBA, I think only Michaeline is signed to go up to the MSBA. So Michaeline and I will be there on Monday for the MSBA conference.
Okay. Anything else? Meetings and committee update?
The high school.
Yes, high school gymnasium.
There you go. Meetings and committee updates. I know we had a meeting prior to this, maybe?
Yeah, we had an online school meeting. We talked about the transition to the central region, which it sounds like is
Smooth.
smooth. Yeah, good, thanks. I was looking for the right word for that. No real issues. Enrollment is slightly down from last year, but it's within the threshold we put in our budget. So that's the positive side on that. It's pretty close. We're down in K through 5, so Krina's gonna push to try to get K through 5 increase. Budget update, there wasn't much of an update. We just looked at the numbers. Changes to existing curriculum. We have a list of some of the changes, and one of the things that we asked for and we should get next week is just some analysis of Alex math and what the results were on that, because it's currently not in the budget for this next year to the level that we had it, because we now have updated MNBA curriculum to Minnesota standards, and we also have Stride math to help. So, but we wanted to do the analysis to see how well Alex worked online and kind of see what those numbers were. Because if it was amazing, my personal opinion is we should figure out a way to keep doing it.
And it's one of the, as I said at the meeting, it's one of those things that as the year's going on, we can, if the data comes back that it really did help, and when we're looking at the new math curriculum and Stride, if those two together really aren't moving the needle, then we can start looking at, okay, we need to do more intervention here and maybe put it in mid-year. But that's one that if we're going to add that to the budget, that's gonna be a hard sell to put in the budget. I know that right now.
Josh, anything you wanna add? You were there.
Optimism about this year's seniors. There was more so returning students than there were just new infusions and enrollment, so optimistic that we'd have good graduation numbers and not just kids holding on.
Gene, you have anything?
In terms of the switch over for the new region, Sarah's gonna help with the transition. She isn't just gonna cut us off and say, here's your new people. They're gonna stay on, so let's have some coherent.
That's good. Anybody have any questions?
And also, the Destination Career Academy, we've got that potential to have the Destination Career Academy as a school within a school at MNBA. So the committee said that that was something that they'd really like to look into. It really speaks to our strategic plan as far as having partnerships, because we would be forming partnerships with different technical colleges, community colleges, for students who, when they're graduating from MNVA or taking the classes in the Destination Career Academy, they would also be working toward industry certificates. So it also would really separate us from the other online schools in the state, that we would have they call it the DCA, so the Destination Career Academy.
I think that's something you mentioned in that meeting about having somebody come speak to the board. I think
Yes.
that would be a good opportunity, because just saying what you, I mean, I was at the meeting, so I kind of understand part of it, but not, and, Michaeline's gone, and I'm sure she would love to know more about it, because that's kind of her thing. But I think, Gary and Ron weren't there, but there may be other people, whether watching or whatever, may want to know more. So if we can get that person to come in,
Yep,
I think it'd be a good
I will
opportunity.
call,
And I think
Chuck
that
and
Alex
Seth.
thing that Mimi was saying, I agree with her on, because Angela did push that program very hard, and, we talked, Todd had a program for his math, I believe, to try to enhance it here in our school locally, programs. And it'd be nice to know how that's going, along with the Alex program, if any of, what's working. Because from looking at the past numbers, we have specific things that we're not doing well. And math, if I'm not mistaken, was one of them, correct? Wasn't there something else?
online, yeah,
Yeah,
the math.
that's what I
on-
mean, yeah. So it'd be nice to, if we're doing something in brick and mortar, whether it be in grade school or the high school, that's enhancing our kids and getting them up there, we should try to, and I think that's kind of what we were looking at doing.
And the scores I've got the scores, they're embargoed right now, but so as soon as I can share them with you.
I mean, because if Todd or Rick have got a magic wand to make those scores go up in math, English, science, or whatever, maybe some pixie dust or something, that'd be great, to help out our online kids. But that, if it worked, like Mimi said, if we get the numbers to find out, and if it's a budgeting thing, we need to figure it out. So, that's all I have on that. Anybody else have anything else? There was no other committee meetings, was
Yes, there was, negotiations.
Oh,
And the local 70 will be voting on it. Yeah,
The 13th.
okay. And, we stayed within the parameters the board gave us.
as soon as they say everything's good to go, we'll give some follow-up information on that. That was it, correct, Karen?
For committee meetings and updates.
Okay, any feedback, thank yous, future agenda items? Anything there?
I had a conversation with some of the preschool staff. They're excited about the playground. They just wanted to express a couple thoughts to the board, just to allow some green space for the kids. I don't know if we have, is fencing in the budget yet, or is it still wide open? Is it gonna be fenced immediately?
We have to get it scheduled.
Yeah.
Nothing's immediate, but
Just the thought being that there's some value to just having some green space, as in grass.
there's gonna be some green space, but.
And then
You mean around the?
within the fenced-in area, so they can
Okay.
still keep track of the kiddos, but
Mhm.
allow some grass other than just the
Wood chips.
wood chips.
Right.
They realize the concern with maximizing the space. They also just don't want to have everything so confined. I guess that was and the other thought is they would be open to be consulted as a group. They just wanted to mention that. So
No, I think the parameters on the area was more of what the company asked, correct, for the space we required?
Can,
Go ahead, Mr.
they have been consulted, in fact, they're the ones that selected that playground equipment. So, and then the green space, that can be added as large as we can get a lawnmower in.
Okay, did you have something you wanna?
Did they have any measurements in mind? In other words, playground, how many feet of grass.
They would,
beyond that.
they were just willing to do a walkthrough or even just that's just what was mentioned, if
Right.
that's a possibility. They're excited about it, nothing but positive things, they had
And
seen
maybe
some,
before we get the fence put in.
and
you know, I mean,
they
you're-
had seen
Well, right.
they had seen the staking, the stakes,
Right.
and so they were, now their curiosity was piqued, and they were
Right.
just kind of thinking, where are things gonna be, and
That's staked for just the playground, that's not staked for the fence.
right, they just were,
So my only thought is if we're going to have more green space, then we'll need a bigger gate to get the mower in there. And then green space should be at least a mower width.
but even if, I know it's time, but maybe even just to explain to them firsthand, like this is, I don't know when that time would work, where they would be. How does that work, Rick?
I can talk to him.
Cause we just got the equipment.
It arrived about
We don't even know the exact.
12 hours
footprint.
ago.
I mean, I
Oh,
don't think we know the exact
was
footprint
12
that
hours
that's
ago.
gonna take, cause there were some other pieces you said you had
There's some other
available.
pieces.
So,
Green space can be added and we can make the fence as big as we want.
Right.
Cause we can always move the fence over if there's something, another structure that comes in.
Right,
So, yeah.
down the road.
but
Down
like
the road.
Gary said, we also wanna make sure it's for maintenance purposes.
Lawnmower have to get
We
in.
wanna make sure we're covered there, so.
Mhm.
Anything else? Anybody? Do we have a motion to, oh, did you have
I
something?
was, up at the e-summit, e-learning summit for, state of Minnesota, and, made a lot of contacts as far as, different things we could be doing. I know that I emailed a couple things back and forth, so I'll be, hopefully, apprising the board of that in the update this week.
Anything else, anybody? Okay, we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion made by Ron,
Second.
second by Gary. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you people, have a great night.